Welcome to Living with Letters, a place for parents and caregivers of pre-kindergarten children to have fun learning together. A place where adults wear their play clothes too and see the world through their child's eyes. As you can see, I'm dressed like a bee today because we'll be exploring a daisy plant that's full of buzzing bees. Not too close though. Come and see the bees with me. Look, I'm full of pollen, but it's not from the plant, it's from my yellow chalk. As you saw in the video, the bees are working very hard at gathering nectar and pollen from the daisy plant. Let's find out why bees gather nectar and pollen. Our first book is an informational book called Bees, written by Laura Marsh and published by National Geographic Kids. By the way, National Geographic Kids has an excellent website to learn about the world around us. Bees by Laura Marsh, published by National Geographic Kids. Buzz. Outside the sun is shining, the flowers are blooming, and the bees are buzzing. When some people see bees, they run. Others might not notice the bees, but let's stop and take a closer look. Bees are helpful. Our world needs bees. Helpful bees. Bees help both people and plants. Honeybees make honey and beeswax. People use these things in a lot of ways. Beeswax is used to make candles and cleaning supplies. Honey is sweet and delicious. All kinds of bees help plants make seeds. Seeds can grow into new plants. Some of those plants give us fruits and vegetables. We can thank bees for strawberries, apples, almonds, tomatoes, and many other foods. Pollen power. When a bee lands on a flower, the flower's pollen rubs off on the bee. Pollen sticks to tiny hairs on the bee's body. Buzzword. Pollen, a sticky yellow powder made by flowers. A bee's leg has special hairs that form a basket. The bee brushes pollen into the basket. Then it flies back to the nest. This pollen is used as food for baby bees. These pollen baskets are filled with pollen. Only female bees have them. Empty pollen basket. Bees collect nectar from flowers too. They drink nectar with their tongues. Some bees make honey out of nectar. These bees are called honeybees. Buzzword, nectar, a sweet, sugary juice that flowers make. Next, we'll read a narrative book called Kaya and the Bees, about a little girl, Kaya, who was very frightened of bees until she learned more about them. It was written by Mary Beth Boltz and illustrated by Angela Dominguez. Kaya and the Bees, written by Mary Beth Boltz and illustrated by Angela Dominguez. I'm the brave type, like hottest hot pepper brave, and furry spider in the basement brave. But one thing super scares me. Bees. Bees have stingers. Once I stepped on a bee, barefoot, and it stung me. And right now, thousands of bees live on our roof. Bees, bees, so many bees. Dad says honeybees are dying, and scientists don't know exactly why. Dad reads bee books and talks about bees non-stop. Fruits and vegetables need to be pollinated to grow, he says. I crunch an apple. Bees pollinated that apple. How about blueberries? Those too, he says. The world needs bees, and that's why we're beekeepers. There on the roof, beehives. Bees crawl in and out of the little hole. Some bees have bright orange and yellow puffs stuck to their legs. They're carrying pollen, Dad says, and he pries open the lid. All of a sudden, bees are everywhere. A flying, buzzing, zipping cloud. My hands shoot up to swat. Dad means business. Stay still, Kaya. Breathe. But I hold my breath. Dad pulls a frame from the hive box. Both sides are covered in crawling, wiggling bees. He studies the frames one at a time. Then he pulls a frame and holds it out for me to take. Me, the liar or the brave girl. My head is soaked with sweat. I blink hard. I reach. And here I am, scared to death, but holding 1,000 bees, maybe more, between my own two hands. The bees are electric, buzzing, buzzing, and I'm electric too. Let's find the queen, Dad says. I hunt and hunt, then I spot her. Dad gives me a thumbs up. So far, so good. We work all day filling jars and mopping. There's honey on the floor, on the table, on my elbow, on the doorknobs. Who cares? We are laughing about the magic happening right in our kitchen. The honey flows, and I want to draw a picture, but no crayon is that golden, and you can't draw the smell of warm, sweet honey filling our apartment. It's a mystery, isn't it? Dad says. I feel it too, that a bee, just a bitty insect with one stinger, 2 pairs of wings, and 6 hairy legs, can make honey. Before we forget, let's take a look at some bee facts that we learned while reading today. Nectar is a sweet juice from flowers that bees take using their tongue. Pollen is a yellow sticky powder on flowers that attaches to a bee. A beehive is where bees live and where they bring nectar to make honey. Your child can add letters on this paper, and most importantly, you should dialogue with your child using nectar, pollen, and beehive as often as you can so they can remember these words. Maybe your child would like to make their own bee costume and ask you to take their photo in the costume, like you see here. You can make bee wings out of many different materials like cardboard and antenna out of pipe cleaners, or buy them at the dollar store. If you make a costume, why not take a video of your child pretending to fly like a bee and having some fun? Learning about bees is a perfect time to briefly talk about alphabetic awareness, or a child's ability to identify the letter B in a word and know its sound. The word bee begins with the letter B and sounds like B. Using magnetic letters on a whiteboard or refrigerator, we can spell bee, then scramble the letters to see if our child can come back to the whiteboard and put them in their proper order. Ask your child if he or she knows other words that begin with the letter B, and you can spell those words using your magnetic letters. Now we'll read selected pages from Dr. Seuss's ABC alphabet book, written and illustrated by Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss's ABC alphabet book, written and illustrated by Dr. Seuss. Big A, little a, what begins with A? Aunt Annie's alligator. A, A. Big B, little b. What begins with B? Barber, baby, Bubbles, and a bumblebee. Big C, little c. What begins with C? Camel on the ceiling. C. Big D, little d. David, Donald, do dreamed a dozen donuts and a duck dog too. To recap our very busy day, we discovered bees in the daisy plant outside, and we learned that bees gather pollen from the flower and use their tongue to drink nectar from a plant. They bring the nectar back to their hive to make honey. We also talked about identifying the letter B and the sound it makes. Using magnetic letters, we can spell words that begin with B. All week long, wherever you are with your child, create opportunities to dialogue about your bee discovery, the facts you learned, the bee costume you made, the books we read, and the letter B that gives the word bee its beginning sound. I hope you took a photo of your child in their bee costume pretending to fly. Most importantly, have fun learning.